The impending nuptials of Taylor Swift are poised to become the undisputed cultural event of the decade, a meticulously curated fusion of poetic romance and A-list spectacle that has sent ripples of anticipation through the worlds of music, fashion, and celebrity. In this rarefied atmosphere, where an invitation is the ultimate currency of social capital, it is no surprise that Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, might be strategically maneuvering to secure a coveted place on the guest list. For her, such an invitation is far more than a ticket to a wedding. It is a powerful token of relevance, a seamless bridge from the rigid, traditionalist world of Windsor to the vibrant, globally dominant sphere of pop culture sovereignty that Taylor commands. Aligning with the Swift brand, an empire built on artistic authenticity, fierce loyalty, and immense commercial power, would represent a masterful pivot, a way to be photographed not just as royalty, but as part of the modern era's most influential inner circle. The subtle calculus of such a move is undeniable, transforming a simple celebration of love into a high-stakes stage for soft power and carefully crafted alliances. This reported determination persists despite a previous, and seemingly telling, snub from the singer, a moment that would have given a less tenuous social climber serious pause. The memory of that earlier rejection, a declined invitation for the global icon to grace the Duchess's podcast, lingers as a subtle but undeniable stain on Meghan's outreach efforts, a quiet testament to the formidable gates that guard Taylor's inner circle. Yet, rather than retreating, the Duchess appears undeterred, her bid to capture Taylor's attention now taking on a more nuanced and perhaps even more determined character. It suggests a calculated campaign, an understanding that gaining entry into the Swiftian universe requires more than a title. It demands a genuine, or at least strategically beneficial, alignment of interests. This isn't merely about attending a party, it's about mending a perceived rift and proving her place within a new world order where a pop star's endorsement can eclipse the prestige of a dusty crown, transforming a past snub into a future alliance worth any amount of relentless pursuit. In a move that can be read as anything but coincidental, the Duchess has now escalated her campaign from mere speculation to a tangible, strategic signal, this week deploying the haunting strains of Opalite, a deep-cut track from the singer's most recent and critically acclaimed album The Life of a Showgirl, as the soundtrack for a sleek clip promoting her latest as-ever product line. The song choice is a masterclass in subtext, its title alone, evoking a gemstone known for its iridescence and its reputation as a stone of subtle transformation, perfectly mirrors Meghan's own curated narrative of graceful reinvention. By aligning her brand's aesthetic with the specific sonic landscape of Taylor's introspective album, a project that famously explores the duality of public performance and private self, Meghan is not just borrowing a cool song, she is sending a meticulously coded message of appreciation and understanding, attempting to demonstrate a genuine affinity for Taylor's art in the hope that this gesture will be received as the fluent cultural language it is, rather than the transactional overture. This strategic musical selection is amplified exponentially by the song's widely understood personal significance, as Opalite is considered by fans and critics alike to be a luminous, hard-on-its-sleeve tribute to Taylor's whirlwind romance with her fiancé, Travis Kelce, whose birthstone is the opal. By choosing a track so intimately woven into the fabric of the singer's own love story, one featuring unequivocally devoted lyrics like "I Can Bring You Love" and "Never Met No One Like You Before," Meghan's move transcends mere name-dropping and enters the realm of deeply personal flattery. It is a deliberate, almost intimate nod to the very core of Taylor's happiness, a nonverbal message that says, "I understand your narrative, I celebrate your joy, and I am aligning my brand with the most sacred part of yours." In this single, cleverly curated post, the Duchess isn't just using a song, she is attempting to borrow its romantic essence, wrapping her commercial enterprise in the golden, approved glow of Taylor Swift's own real-life fairy tale, making the invitation to the wedding seem not just like a desired social coup, but the next logical, harmonious step in a newly synchronized relationship. Far from a casual coincidence, Meghan's deliberate soundtrack selection stands as her most overt and strategically crafted olive branch to date, a calculated piece of relational diplomacy designed to be universally decoded. This is not the vague hope of a past podcast invitation, it is a public performance of intimate understanding, using the very lyrics Swift penned for her fiancé as a shared, symbolic language. By showcasing a deep-cut track known to be a personal tribute to Travis Kelce, Meghan demonstrates a level of fandom and respect that is impossible to ignore, effectively saying, "I am not just an admirer of your work, but a student of your happiness." The gesture is audacious in its specificity, attempting to leapfrog past any prior friction by aligning herself with the most joyful and authentic chapter of Swift's life. It is a high-stakes gamble that this very public, and undeniably personal, compliment will be received as a graceful peace offering, one persuasive enough to finally unlock the gates to the inner circle and secure that elusive wedding invitation. This recent musical overture is, in fact, the culmination of a carefully orchestrated campaign that began with quieter, yet equally telling, gestures. The royal was notably quick to publicly like the announcement of the couple's engagement back in August on Instagram, a move of strategic endorsement that carried its own subtle cost. In offering this immediate digital congratulations, Meghan consciously allowed the seismic news of Swift's engagement to potentially overshadow the release of the second season of her own Netflix show, With Love, Meghan. This self-effacing act revealed a clear hierarchy in her priorities. The opportunity to publicly align with Taylor's moment of triumph was deemed more valuable than guarding the spotlight for her own creative project. It was a calculated deposit into the bank of goodwill, an early signal of deference meant to show that she stands as a supporter, not a competitor. Now, with the opulent soundtrack of Opalite, that initial digital nod has been amplified into a full-throated serenade, transforming a series of calculated likes and song choices into a coherent and persistent argument for her inclusion in the most exclusive inner circle. For all of Meghan's meticulously demonstrated credentials as the perfect modern Swiftie, this carefully laid groundwork confronts a formidable and seemingly immovable obstacle. Taylor Swift herself appears to be firmly entrenched in Team Wales. The singer's well-documented and warm friendship with Prince William over the years, a bond forged through charitable endeavors and public displays of mutual respect, has drawn a subtle but distinct battle line through the royal landscape. This pre-existing allegiance transforms Meghan's campaign from a simple bid for friendship into a delicate navigation of preordained loyalties. In the unspoken rules of celebrity and royal alliances, Taylor's established connection with William and Catherine positions them not just as acquaintances, but as her chosen faction, making the act of embracing Meghan a potentially discordant note in a long-standing and harmonious relationship. Thus, the wedding invitation becomes more than a social prize, it is a litmus test for where Taylor's ultimate loyalties lie, with the established, traditionalist branch she has long admired, or with the compelling, modern narrative of reinvention that Meghan so powerfully represents. Compounding the challenge of Taylor's established Team Wales allegiance was an unforced error from Meghan's own camp, as Prince Harry, earlier this week, inadvertently failed to advance his wife's quest during an appearance on Hasan Minhaj's podcast. When prompted about the love story songstress, Harry appeared visibly stumped, offering a blank response that laid bare a fundamental disconnect at the very heart of their union's diplomatic offensive. This awkward moment did more than just miss a strategic opportunity, it highlighted a glaring lack of synchronization, suggesting that while Meghan is conducting a sophisticated, note-by-note campaign of flattery, her partner remains unfamiliar with the most basic chords of Swift's cultural lexicon. The contrast could not be more damaging. One half of the couple is meticulously analyzing the deep-cut symbolism of Opalite, while the other cannot even name the artist's most iconic hits. This dissonance ultimately paints Meghan's ambitious efforts as a solo performance, one that may be tragically undermined by a partner who doesn't know the tune, making the prospect of that coveted wedding invitation seem more elusive than ever. This most recent, digitally native campaign is, in fact, a continuation of a long-standing pursuit, one that notably included the Duchess reportedly attending the singer's Eras tour in 2023 during its Los Angeles stop. Her presence in that sea of adoring fans was a physical, tangible testament to her fandom, an early and very public investment in the Swift phenomenon. Yet, in the high-stakes semiotics of celebrity relations, that concert attendance now appears as merely a foundational layer, a necessary, but insufficient, gesture. When viewed in the full context of her husband's recent fumble, Taylor's clear allegiances to the Waleses, and the now blatant musical flattery, that night in the stadium becomes part of a patterned, and increasingly urgent, multi-year strategy. It reveals a woman who has tried the direct approach, the shared experience approach, and now the intensely personal, symbolic approach, all in the hopes of bridging a social divide that seems to only widen with each meticulously calculated, yet ultimately unreciprocated, overture. The Duchess of Sussex's campaign for a coveted invitation to Taylor Swift's wedding has evolved from a whisper of interest into a full-scale, multi-front strategy, one far too deliberate to be dismissed as mere coincidence. This pursuit, undeterred by a past podcast snub, has escalated through calculated public gestures, an Instagram like on the engagement news that sacrificed her own Netflix spotlight, the strategic use of the deeply personal track Opalite as an olive branch, and perhaps most tellingly, a performative display of fandom at the Eras Tour in Los Angeles. There, according to reports, Meghan didn't just attend, she performed her fandom, leaping from her seat to dance to You Belong With Me and enthusiastically telling crowds, "Let's go back to high school." This was not merely a fan enjoying a concert, it was a public audition for the role of a true Swiftie, an attempt to embody the nostalgic, cardigan-wearing spirit of Taylor's core community. Yet, this entire meticulously constructed effort crashes against the hard rocks of existing alliances and awkward missteps. Prince Harry's bafflement when questioned about Taylor revealed a critical lack of synchronicity at home, while Taylor's own well-established friendship with Prince William and the Wales camp positions Meghan not as a natural ally, but as a petitioner at a rival court. Thus, despite the credentials, the concert energy, and the symbolic song choices, the Duchess's quest appears to be a brilliantly orchestrated solo act playing to an audience of one who, thus far, has chosen not to applaud. However, the most telling detail of that much-publicized Eras Tour night was not her enthusiastic dancing to You Belong With Me, but what didn't happen after the final bow. Despite her very public display of fandom, Meghan did not appear to gain access to the coveted VIP tent and, crucially, did not take a photograph with the singer. This absence from the inner sanctum speaks volumes, cutting through the performative energy to reveal a stark boundary. It underscores the fundamental difference between being a visible attendee in a crowd of tens of thousands and being a trusted confidant granted backstage access. That missing photograph becomes the symbolic proof of a connection that, for all its strategic publicity and heartfelt performances, has yet to be authentically forged. Every dance move and shared lyric since has been an attempt to overcome the barrier defined that night, a barrier that, despite all efforts, remains firmly in place, making the prospect of a wedding invitation seem less like an impending social coup and more like a fantasy from a Swift song itself, a love story that, for Meghan, remains stubbornly one-sided. This stark contrast was thrown into its sharpest relief when Swift arrived at Wembley Stadium in London last June, a visit that served as a masterclass in her existing royal allegiances. There, the scene was one of effortless integration and very public camaraderie. Not only did she meet with Prince William, but the future king was seen wholeheartedly embracing the concert spirit, delighting fans with his relatable dad dancing in the stands. This was more than a meeting, it was a viral moment of mutual endorsement and genuine, unforced friendship. The image of William in the VIP section, sharing a laugh with Taylor, stands in direct opposition to Meghan's documented absence from similar tents. It visually cemented the singer's position as firmly Team Wales, demonstrating that for Taylor, authentic connection with the House of Windsor already exists, and it requires no strategic song placements or public campaigns to sustain. Ultimately, this Wembley snapshot may be the most definitive answer to Meghan's long-running quest, a poignant illustration that in the intricate dance of celebrity and royalty, Taylor Swift has already chosen her partner. The ultimate and most damning contrast to Meghan's solitary campaign was painted not with words, but with a single, heartwarming family portrait. At Wembley Stadium, Prince William, embodying his role as a modern father, brought his heirs, Prince George and Princess Charlotte, to the concert. The image of the future king and his children meeting both Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce backstage was a masterstroke of uncalculated, multi-generational diplomacy. This wasn't a strategic alliance, it was a memory being made, a fusion of global pop culture and the monarchy's future, captured in a photograph that radiated genuine, cross-generational joy. In that one moment, William effortlessly achieved what Meghan's years of calculated overtures could not. He demonstrated a natural, family-level rapport with the singer, seamlessly integrating her into the Windsor narrative on his own terms. For Taylor, this royal invitation was already fulfilled, not through campaign or coercion, but through the simple, powerful bonds of an existing friendship, leaving the Duchess's quest looking less like a courtship and more like a solo performance in an otherwise empty room. The entire, painstaking campaign, from the personal letters and podcast pitches to the strategic concert appearances and symbolic song placements, ultimately collides with the stark reality captured in a blistering assessment from a source close to the production of Confessions of a Female Founder. "No one's picking up the phone," they admitted, laying bare the brutal truth of her commercial and social appeal. The source explicit naming of the unattainable echelon: "There's no Taylor Swift. No Beyoncé. Not even a Hailey Bieber," functioned as a public audit of her polling power, concluding that when you're pitching female empowerment, that's a problem. This final, damning testimony, capped with the observation that she's not happy about her lack of appeal, transcends the context of a single podcast and serves as the definitive coda to her quest for A-list validation. It illustrates a fundamental law of modern celebrity: influence cannot be claimed through association alone, it must be reciprocated. While the Prince and Princess of Wales enjoy a peer-level, mutually beneficial alliance with Taylor Swift, Meghan's efforts have been met with a silent phone line and a public narrative that now defines her not by her connections, but by her celebrated failures to secure them. The Duchess of Sussex's multi-year campaign and invitation, a strategy that spanned from a reported Eras Tour appearance where she notably remained outside the VIP tent, to the strategically sentimental use of opalite, and even her husband's fumbled podcast moment, has ultimately been defined not by her own efforts, but by a rival's effortless success. The stark contrast was crystallized in a single, viral selfie from Taylor Swift's London concert, featuring beaming, dad-dancing Prince William and his children backstage with the star and Travis Kelce. Where Meghan's overtures seemed calculated, William's inclusion appeared organic and familial, a distinction the public was quick to seize upon. The court of public opinion delivered the final, brutal verdict in a chorus of social media posts that declared, "Tay-Tay is Team Wales all the way," and sneered, "You never saw Harry and Meghan get that close to Taylor Swift. Thanks for choosing the right side." In this chorus, the narrative was cemented: Taylor Swift hadn't merely chosen one royal faction over another, she was perceived to have actively, and publicly, endorsed the right side, transforming Meghan's quest for an invitation from a social aspiration into a very public, and very definitive, rejection. The culmination of this entire, subtly waged social war arrived not through a leaked guest list or a private communiqué, but via the most modern and public of royal channels, the Prince and Princess of Wales's official X account. Their post of the now iconic selfie, featuring a beaming Prince William, Prince George, and Princess Charlotte alongside Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, captioned with a casual, "Thank you at Taylor Swift 13 for a great evening," was the ultimate and most dignified power move. This was not merely a personal photograph, it was an institutional endorsement, a seamless blending of the monarchy's future with the pinnacle of global pop culture, officially archived for the world to see. In that one gracious, public thank you, the Waleses demonstrated an effortless access and a familial intimacy that Meghan's years of strategic overtures, from concert dancing to deeply personal song selections, could never hope to achieve. The message was delivered not with shade, but with sunshine, not with a pointed barb, but with a grateful smile that completely overshadowed any rival campaign. It served as the final, unequivocal answer to the question of royal allegiances, proving that for Taylor Swift, an invitation to Kensington Palace had already been extended and joyfully accepted, rendering any quest for an invitation to her wedding a moot point. In the end, the Duchess of Sussex's meticulously orchestrated campaign, a multi-year strategy of concert attendance, strategic song placements, and public endorsements, was decisively overshadowed by a simple, reciprocal exchange of social media affection between the Prince and Princess of Wales and Taylor Swift. The official royal thank you post from the Waleses was not left hanging, it was promptly answered by the pop star herself, who posted the same selfie with the royals and her boyfriend, Travis Kelce, framing it as a heartfelt birthday tribute to William. "Happy birthday M8. London shows are off to a splendid start." This reciprocal post transformed a mere meet and greet into a public celebration of a genuine friendship, showcasing a comfortable, peer-level relationship that operates on a first-name, M8 basis. This effortless, two-way street of admiration and support between the heir to the throne and the music icon stands in stark contrast to the one-way, unreciprocated nature of Meghan's overtures. It conclusively demonstrated that Taylor Swift's circle is not entered through relentless campaigning, but through authentic, pre-existing bonds, a circle that, in this very public display, was shown to be firmly and happily closed. Just when it seemed the boundaries of this modern royal alliance could not be more clearly drawn, Meghan found herself upstaged once more in the subtle arena of digital diplomacy. In a move that reverberated through both royal and pop culture watchers, Taylor Swift's joyous engagement post to Travis Kelce received a rare and significant endorsement, alike from the official joint Instagram account of the Prince and Princess of Wales. This simple tap of a button was a loaded gesture, a silent but official seal of approval from the future monarchy that publicly reaffirmed their warm and supportive relationship with the singer. For Meghan, whose own multi-year campaign of concert attendance, strategic musical cues, and public compliments has gone conspicuously unreciprocated, this digital nod from the Waleses was more than just a snub, it was a demonstration of institutional power and social currency. It underscored a brutal truth in the world of A-list allegiances. While Meghan is still trying to send signals, the Waleses and Taylor Swift are already in a closed loop of mutual, public celebration, leaving the Duchess's quest for an invitation and recognition perpetually on the outside looking in. Indeed, the prospect of Prince Harry serving as a bridge to Taylor Swift's inner circle appears not just unlikely, but fundamentally contrary to the established dynamics at play. Where Meghan has conducted a nuanced, media-literate campaign of symbolic gestures, Harry exists as a living reminder of the very rift, the estrangement from the firm and its key members, that Taylor has so visibly and cheerfully aligned herself with. His value in this specific social quest is not merely neutral, it is a net negative. His bewildered response when asked about Swift on a podcast confirmed a palpable cultural disconnect, suggesting he is an unwilling and unprepared conscript in his wife's soft power campaign. Furthermore, his memoir and public statements have permanently cast him as the antagonist in the narrative of the modern monarchy, the very institution Taylor is now publicly buddying with, exchanging M8 birthday wishes and official Instagram likes. Therefore, Harry is less an asset and more a diplomatic liability in this context. His involvement only reinforces the central, insurmountable obstacle, that an invitation for Meghan would, by association, be an invitation for Harry, forcing Taylor to choose between a new, uncertain acquaintance and a warm, established, and globally popular friendship with the future king. In the high-stakes social calculus of the event of the year, Harry's presence doesn't just fail to help, it actively cements the reason why the invitation will almost certainly never come. This social chasm was perhaps most humorously and tellingly highlighted not by a grand gesture, but by a moment of pure, unvarnished bewilderment from Prince Harry himself. When questioned about the contemporary pop culture skirmish between Taylor Swift and British singer Charlie XCX, a supposed feud complete with diss track rumors that any devout Swiftie would be versed in, the prince appeared utterly stunned, his limited knowledge of the drama laying bare a profound disconnect. This was more than a simple gap in pop music knowledge, it was a symbolic demonstration that the very currency of Taylor's world, the nuanced gossip, the artistic rivalries, the fan-driven narratives, is a foreign language to him. While Meghan is meticulously analyzing the lyrical subtext of Opalite, Harry remains unaware of the headlines dominating the very community she is trying to enter. This starkly underscores why he is an impossible asset in her quest. His confusion doesn't just fail to help, it actively validates the perception that they are outsiders to Swift's universe, forever watching the dance floor from the sidelines while the Prince and Princess of Wales are already backstage, smiling in the selfies. The already glaring social disconnect between the Sussexes and Taylor Swift's universe was pushed into almost comical relief during an interview on the latest episode of Hassan Minhaj Doesn't Know. The American comedian, operating firmly within the lexicon of modern pop culture, directly asked the Duke, "What do you think of this Charlie XCX Taylor Swift beef?" The question, which would be routine banter for any plugged-in public figure, instead landed with a thud. Prince Harry appeared not just stumped, but genuinely stunned, his face a blank canvas of non-recognition. His flustered response, or lack thereof, wasn't merely an admission of ignorance about a specific pop gossip flare-up, it was a live-action demonstration of the vast cultural canyon separating him from the world his wife is so desperately trying to court. In that painfully awkward silence, the entire architecture of Meghan's carefully constructed campaign crumbled, revealing the fundamental flaw: you cannot gain entry to the inner sanctum of pop's queen when your own prince doesn't speak the language. The chasm between Meghan's calculated pursuit of Taylor Swift and the singer's organic alliance with the House of Wales is perfectly embodied by Prince William's self-deprecating recollection of their 2013 duet, where he admitted he obeyed Taylor's onstage demand to join her like a puppy. This charming anecdote reveals a relationship of comfortable, peer-level camaraderie, entirely devoid of the strategic calculus that has defined Meghan's efforts, from the rejected podcast invitations and the symbolic use of opalite to the reported reliance on Swift's own security detail in New York. While William and Taylor have a history of shared, unforced moments that culminate in viral family selfies and official social media endorsements, Meghan's campaign has been a series of unreciprocated gestures, underscored by her husband's cultural disconnect and production sources lamenting that no one's picking up the phone. William's puppy comment highlights a fundamental truth: his place in Swift's world was earned through genuine, long-standing rapport, while Meghan's, despite being literally guarded by the singer's infrastructure, remains that of an outsider trying to decode an inner circle she cannot enter, proving that in the realms of both royalty and pop stardom, authentic affinity will always trump the most meticulously researched campaign. The moment escalated from mere bafflement to cringe-worthy comedy as Hasan Minhaj, fully committed to the bit, leaned into the absurdity of the situation. "No, this is serious," he pressed, his tone a perfect blend of mock gravitas and genuine curiosity, because was Charlie's diss track even a diss track? This follow-up question, delving into the nuanced semantics of pop music feudology, only served to widen the void of understanding between the comedian and the prince. For Minhaj and the culturally literate audience he represents, this is the light-hearted, essential gossip that fuels fandom. For Harry, it was clearly an indecipherable code. The entire exchange became a perfect metaphor for the Sussexes' plight. One cannot rally a strategic ally when the most basic cultural references require laborious translation. As Meghan attempts to engage in the high-level, symbolic diplomacy of using a deeply personal love song, her designated partner is being stumped by the very entry-level questions of the same culture, proving their efforts are not just out of sync, but exist on entirely different planets. The suspected conflict between the two pop princesses, which left Prince Harry so bewildered, is believed by fans and critics to be a nuanced, industry-level spat, intricately referenced in the lyrical daggers thrown on Taylor's new album, The Life of a Showgirl. This isn't just tabloid fodder. For the Swiftie inner circle, it is a complex textual analysis of artistic rivalry and subtle disses that requires a dedicated level of fandom to decode. Harry's cluelessness about this very specific drama, the kind of insider knowledge that defines a true Swiftie, therefore served as the ultimate, public litmus test of his and Meghan's outsider status. While Meghan was attempting to demonstrate her fluency in Swift's romantic lexicon by using opalite, she was simultaneously partnered with someone who was entirely illiterate in the language of Swift's professional conflicts and artistic narratives. This starkly illustrates the insurmountable hurdle of their campaign. Securing an invitation to the most exclusive event in pop culture requires not just a passing appreciation of the music, but a comprehensive understanding of the artist's entire world, a world in which Harry, by his own stunned admission, remains utterly lost, making his wife's meticulously researched overtures appear as a solo effort destined to fall on deliberately deaf ears. This stark contrast in closeness is not a recent development but is rooted in a long-standing, publicly documented camaraderie that makes Meghan's campaign appear all the more aspirational. The foundation of Prince William and Taylor Swift's alliance was literally set on stage at Kensington Palace over a decade ago, when the pair famously performed a duet of Livin' on a Prayer with Bon Jovi at a 2013 charity event. That shared microphone moment was more than a photo opportunity. It was a seminal event that fused the heir to the British throne with the future Queen of Pop in a display of mutual respect and shared philanthropic purpose. This history creates a bond that cannot be replicated by simply attending a concert or liking a social media post. It represents a genuine, years-long familiarity that exists completely outside of and untouched by the Sussexes' narrative. Therefore, every recent gesture, from the joint social media posts to the backstage family selfies, is not a new friendship forming, but merely the latest chapter in a pre-existing, and very public, relationship, rendering Meghan's quest less a rivalry and more an attempt to gatecrash a well-established club with a long and storied membership list. This entire, multi-layered campaign by the Duchess must be viewed through the lens of that initial, and seemingly definitive, rejection detailed in a Wall Street Journal report from June 2023, which claimed that Swift had turned down an invitation to appear on Meghan's podcast despite receiving a personal letter from the Duchess. That snub was the foundational block upon which this entire saga was built, transforming Meghan's subsequent actions, from the public concert attendance to the strategically sentimental use of opalite, from simple fandom into a persistent, almost corrective, campaign to capture an affinity that had already been formally declined. Every overture since has been an attempt to overwrite that initial refusal, to prove a worthiness that the podcast invitation failed to secure. Yet, the stark contrast was Swift's easy, long-standing rapport with Prince William, famously cemented by their shared stage performing Livin' on a Prayer at a 2013 charity event, only highlights the futility of the endeavor. The podcast rejection was the private answer. The viral photograph with the Wales family at Wembley was the public one, framing Meghan's solo campaign not just as a struggle for an invitation, but as a quest to alter a verdict that was delivered long ago. Undeterred by previous rejections, the Duchess's pursuit of this rarefied echelon of stardom appears to be a recurring theme in her professional strategy. It was even reported that she made another attempt earlier this year to land a guest of Taylor Swift or Beyoncé's caliber for her subsequent female empowerment podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder. This repeated outreach to the absolute pinnacle of A-list talent underscores a persistent belief that association with such icons is the ultimate validation for her ventures. However, the continued reluctance of these megastars to participate speaks volumes, suggesting that Meghan's brand of empowerment does not, or at least not yet, resonate with the very women who dominate the cultural landscape. This pattern of rejection transforms her public campaign for a simple wedding invitation into something much larger, a symbol of her broader struggle to secure the endorsement of pop culture's most untouchable sovereigns. While she extends invitations to podcasts and curates playlists as olive branches, their continued non-response, contrasted so vividly with Taylor Swift's very public, very chummy alliance with the Waleses, cements a perception that Meghan remains on the outside, her calls and personal letters going unanswered in a world where a backstage selfie with the future king is the only credential that truly matters. This long-running, one-sided courtship is layered with a particularly bitter irony, given that the Mail previously revealed in 2021 how Harry and Meghan were, on one occasion, literally protected by Taylor Swift's own bodyguards during a whistle-stop tour of New York City. This fleeting moment of proximity, where the Sussexes were physically safeguarded by the very infrastructure of Swift's stardom, now serves as a perfect metaphor for their entire relationship with her world. They have briefly, tangentially existed within its protective bubble, benefiting from its power and reach, but they have never been granted true, sustained entry. That incident highlights the fundamental disparity. They were in need of a shield she could provide, while she required nothing from them. This historical detail casts Meghan's subsequent campaign in an even more desperate light. Despite having been, quite literally, guarded by Swift's empire, she remains on the outside, a petitioner whose calls go unanswered, her efforts to transition from a temporary ward of the Swiftian machine to a welcomed friend proving to be a futile endeavor. The bodyguards could create a temporary barrier against the crowds, but they could not bridge the social chasm that now seems wider than ever. The entire, painstaking campaign, from the personal letters and podcast pitches to the strategic concert appearances and symbolic song placements, ultimately collides with the stark reality captured in a single, devastating quote from a source close to the production of Confessions of a Female Founder. "No one's picking up the phone," they admitted, adding bluntly, "the show is not landing." This statement transcends the context of a single podcast. It serves as a metaphor for Meghan's broader quest for A-list validation and inclusion. The unreturned calls and declined invitations form a silent chorus of rejection, a stark contrast to the very public, easily secured connections enjoyed by the Waleses. While William and his children can prompt a joint social media celebration with Taylor Swift with a single backstage visit, Meghan's meticulously researched and personally delivered overtures are met with a deafening silence on the other end of the line. This fundamental disconnect illustrates that in the high-stakes world of celebrity alliances, no amount of strategic fandom can compensate for a simple, unanswerable truth. The most powerful networks are built on mutual benefit and genuine affinity, and by every available indicator, the Sussex line remains disconnected. The defining contrast between the Sussexes' strained courtship of Taylor Swift and the Wales' effortless alliance is crystallized in Prince William's own awestruck recollection of their meeting, a story he admitted in a 2021 interview he can't believe he's telling. "I turn up and John Bon Jovi and Taylor Swift are at the event, which nearly knocked me off my feet. This memory of genuine, fan-like disbelief underscores the organic nature of a bond that began with shared admiration and a now legendary charity duet, where he followed her on stage command like a puppy. This foundation of mutual respect and uncalculated chemistry has since flourished into a very public, family-friendly friendship, complete with backstage selfies and official social media endorsements. It stands in unyielding opposition to Meghan's experience, which has been a masterclass in strategic, yet unreciprocated, outreach, from the deeply personal podcast letters that went unanswered and the symbolic use of opalite, to the ironic reality of once being protected by Swift's security detail while remaining socially shut out. Where William and Taylor's relationship was built on a spontaneous, shared moment that knocked him off his feet, Meghan's has been a meticulously orchestrated campaign that has never managed to get its foot in the door, ultimately proving that in the rarefied worlds of pop royalty and actual royalty, authentic connection will always trump relentless pursuit. The poignant coda to this entire saga lies in Prince William's own bewildered and cringing recollection of his duet with Taylor Swift, a moment he admits he still do, not know what came over me to agree to, confessing, "I don't understand why I gave in." This humble, almost vulnerable admission underscores the very essence of his authentic bond with the singer. It was spontaneous, slightly embarrassing, and built on a charismatic pull that bypassed all royal calculation. It is the polar opposite of Meghan's years of strategic maneuvering, from the rejected podcast invitations and the deeply researched use of opalite to the ironic reality of being guarded by Swift's security detail while remaining socially peripheral. William's relationship was forged in a single, unscripted moment of peer pressure and mutual charm. Meghan's has been a meticulously documented campaign of one-sided overtures, all failing to capture the very same effortless, magnetic chemistry that caused a future king to throw caution to the wind and sing. In the end, William's cringing memory is the ultimate proof that the invitation Meghan seeks cannot be engineered. It must be extended in a moment of genuine, unplanned connection, a currency she has found tragically out of reach. This single, self-deprecating confession from Prince William, "I got up like a puppy and went, yeah, okay, that seems like a great idea. I'll follow you," serves as the definitive conclusion to the years-long narrative of Meghan's unreciprocated campaign for Taylor Swift's favor. In that one charmingly helpless admission lies the entire, unbridgeable gap between the two royal couples' relationships with the pop icon. For William, Swift's influence is an irresistible, natural force he willingly and joyfully submits to, a dynamic that has only deepened over a decade into a public, familial friendship cemented by backstage selfies and official social media endorsements. For Meghan, however, Swift's world has been a fortress to be besieged by a relentless strategy of personal letters, concert appearances, symbolic playlists, and podcast pitches, all met with silent phones and declined invitations. William was invited onto the stage, Meghan couldn't even get into the VIP tent. He was pulled by the arm into a moment of spontaneous fun, she was left analyzing the subtext of a love song from the outside. Ultimately, the Duke's puppy-like acquiescence underscores the profound difference between an organic, peer-level bond that generates viral moments and a calculated, one-sided campaign that generates only headlines about its own failure. No amount of strategic effort can manufacture the kind of authentic, magnetic connection that makes a future king happily follow a pop star's lead. This final, almost dreamlike recollection from Prince William, "I walked up on stage in a trance, then sort of halfway through I wake up," serves as the poetic and definitive full stop to the entire saga. His telling frames the encounter not as a calculated media opportunity, but as a surreal, spontaneous moment of being swept up in a force of nature, a story he shares with cringing bewilderment even years later. This stands in absolute opposition to the Sussex narrative, where every gesture, from the personal podcast letters and the analytical use of opalite to the concert appearances without a backstage pass, has been one of hyper-awareness and strategic intent. Meghan's campaign was conducted in a state of meticulous wakefulness, every move calculated for its potential symbolic return. William, by contrast, achieved the connection she so covets by simply surrendering to the moment, following the pull of a star's charisma into a shared, unscripted performance that would forever cement their public alliance. His trance highlights the ultimate, unattainable ingredient in Meghan's quest, the unmanufacturable magic that transforms a strategic interaction into a genuine friendship. While William was sleepwalking into a legendary pop culture moment, Meghan remains wide awake, forever on the outside, still trying to find the door to a room the Prince of Wales stumbled into without even trying. The ultimate symbol of the life Meghan is so determined to gain access to was unveiled in August, when Taylor and Travis announced their engagement, the singer proudly showcasing a mammoth ring that cemented her own storybook romance. This announcement, which received a rare and telling like from the Prince and Princess of Wales's official Instagram account, functioned as the final, glittering barrier to the Sussexes' aspirations. The ring itself became a metaphor for the impenetrable circle of joy and alliance Swift has built, a circle that includes the future king who once followed her on stage like a puppy, but explicitly excludes the Duchess who has tried everything from personal letters to analytical song placements to force her way in. For Meghan, the engagement was not just a celebrity news item, it was the crystallization of a social fortress, its gates sealed by a decade of authentic friendship and a new, powerful union, leaving her on the outside, her campaign of calculated charm having failed to make a dent in the formidable, and now engaged, inner sanctum of Taylor Swift. The culmination of this entire social saga arrived with Taylor Swift's own fairy tale announcement, a set of photos depicting Travis Kelce on his knees in an enchanted garden bursting with pink, white, and red flowers, captioned with the characteristically playful yet intimate declaration, "Your English teacher and your gym teacher are getting married." This image of organic, storybook romance represents the very inner sanctum Meghan has tirelessly, yet fruitlessly, campaigned to enter. The Enchanted Garden is a world away from the strategic calculus of podcast pitches and symbolic song selections. It is a private universe of genuine joy, one that has naturally and publicly included Prince William and his family, who have shared in this celebratory chapter with likes and selfies. For Meghan, this announcement, and the ring that sealed it, is the ultimate symbol of a door closing. It solidifies that the connection she seeks cannot be forged through relentless effort or public displays of fandom, but is reserved for those, like the Waleses, whose bond with the singer was formed not by pursuit, but by the same kind of effortless, magnetic pull that brought an English teacher and a gym teacher together in an enchanted garden. The campaign is over, the garden gate is shut, and the guest list for the event of the decade appears to have been written from a place of long-standing, authentic affinity that the Duchess, for all her striving, simply could not manufacture. In the end, even the sartorial details of Taylor Swift's engagement announcement to Travis Kelce, a $400 striped silk blend dress by Ralph Lauren, with its ruched top and halter neckline, perfectly capturing a vibe of understated, all-American elegance, served to underscore the fundamental divide at the heart of this saga. Swift's choice was a masterclass in her brand of relatable luxury, a carefully considered yet effortless-looking aesthetic that exists within her own self-contained, enchanted universe. This universe, as proven by the viral selfie with the Wales family and the decade-long camaraderie that began with Prince William being charmed on stage like a puppy, operates on a currency of genuine, long-standing affinity. Meghan's campaign, by contrast, has been a study in borrowed aesthetics and strategic symbolism, from using the deeply personal track Opalite to the reported reliance on Swift's own security. Where Swift builds her world with intentional, personal touches, Meghan has been left trying to reverse engineer an invitation through external gestures. The Ralph Lauren dress, the enchanted garden, and the playful caption are all artifacts of a story that is organically and joyfully unfolding, a story that has naturally included the Prince of Wales while consistently leaving the Duchess of Sussex on the outside, her efforts to mimic its language ultimately highlighting that she does not possess the native fluency required to truly belong. This final, almost dreamlike recollection from Prince William, "I walked up on stage in a trance, then sort of halfway through I wake up," serves as the poetic and definitive full stop to the entire saga. His telling frames the encounter not as a calculated media opportunity, but as a surreal, spontaneous moment of being swept up in a force of nature, a story he shares with cringing bewilderment even years later. This stands in absolute opposition to the Sussex narrative, where every gesture, from the personal podcast letters and the analytical use of Opalite to the concert appearances without a backstage pass, has been one of hyper-awareness and strategic intent. Meghan's campaign was conducted in a state of meticulous wakefulness, every move calculated for its potential symbolic return. William, by contrast, achieved the connection she so covets by simply surrendering to the moment, following the pull of a star's charisma into a shared, unscripted performance that would forever cement their public alliance. His trance highlights the ultimate, unattainable ingredient in Meghan's quest, the unmanufacturable magic that transforms a strategic interaction into a genuine friendship. While William was sleepwalking into a legendary pop culture moment, Meghan remains wide awake, forever on the outside, still trying to find the door to a room the Prince of Wales stumbled into without even trying. For now, the specifics of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's upcoming high-profile wedding have been fiercely guarded, a secret as closely held as the lyrics to a new album, yet the couple did confirm to BBC Radio 1 host Greg James that they are orchestrating a destination wedding. This single, tantalizing detail acts as the final, symbolic fortress around their union. It is no longer just an exclusive guest list but a journey, a logistical puzzle that inherently separates the inner circle from the rest of the world. The very concept of a destination wedding, a remote, curated experience for a chosen few, is the ultimate manifestation of the private universe Taylor has built, one that has naturally included the Wales family but has remained impervious to the Duchess of Sussex's very public, very earthbound campaign. As Meghan's efforts have shown, you cannot strategize your way onto a private jet or into a secluded, enchanted locale. Those invitations are extended through a currency of genuine, long-standing friendship. The destination, therefore, becomes more than a location, it is the final, unbreachable gate, and all indications suggest that for Meghan, the coordinates remain decidedly out of reach. The exclusive and deeply personal nature of the upcoming celebration was further underscored when, during an appearance on Hits Radio, Taylor Swift was asked if her close friend Ed Sheeran would be performing at her wedding. Her response, a warm admission that it would be hard for him not to, was a telling glimpse into the event's fabric, one woven from years of genuine friendship and shared professional history. This casual confirmation reinforces that the wedding will be a sanctuary for her most trusted inner circle, where A-list performers are not hired acts, but beloved guests who naturally contribute to the soundtrack of the day. For Meghan, this detail is yet another reminder of the qualitative difference between her own strained overtures and the effortless, organic bonds that truly grant access. While the Duchess has been trying to prove her worth through symbolic gestures, the wedding's roster is being filled by people like Sheeran, whose place was secured not by campaign, but by a long-standing and mutually adored connection, solidifying that no amount of strategic fandom can buy a ticket to an event where the guest list is written in the indelible ink of true personal history. This latest, lighthearted revelation, where Taylor Swift joked about her friend Ed Sheeran's inevitable performance, noting, "It would be hard to keep him from it, I think," and mimicking his willingness to seize any stage, paints a vivid picture of the wedding Meghan is so determined to join. It is not merely a formal event, but a joyful, private gathering of a tightly knit community where world-famous musicians are playful, willing participants, not hired entertainment. This casual, familial banter about one of pop music's biggest stars underscores the profound nature of the barrier facing the Duchess of Sussex. While Meghan has been meticulously decoding lyrics and orchestrating public gestures in a bid to prove her belonging, Taylor's wedding guest list is being curated from a place of effortless, years-deep friendships where A-list talents are not just attendees, but family. The chasm could not be wider. One woman is worrying over strategic invitations, while the other is casually joking about how to keep a global superstar off the stage at her own destination wedding. In the end, Meghan's campaign highlights a simple, unyielding truth: you cannot strategize your way into a moment of pure, uncalculated joy.